So, good morning. My name's Andrew Homer and I'm a lecturer in global health, and I'd like to welcome you to Waterloo Bridge. Saturday the 17th of November. It's a significant day in the civil society movement against climate breakdown. You may have read on the news or heard about it online. There's a group called Extinction Rebellion, and they've been active all week campaigning against climate breakdown. I thought I'd come along and see what is going on today. So the idea, I understand, is to occupy 5 bridges in London, including this one, and to block the traffic, to make the point that we're facing a very difficult time in terms of the environment. You will hopefully have read about the recent IPCC report, 1.5 degrees, which basically gives us 12 years to significantly reduce carbon emissions. The problem is, of course, that the government is not listening to the science and seems to be completely oblivious to the fact we are on the precipice of species extinction. So Extinction Rebellion has come about because of that government inaction. It wants the government to make it clear to the general public that there is a problem. It's not doing that at the moment. The almost complete absence of media coverage, particularly the BBC, seems to be completely preoccupied with Brexit. So we need to get the message across to the general public that there's an emergency. The second problem, of course, is, well, how are we going to develop some sensible policies? The government, Extinction Rebellion, is asking for citizens' assembly, so that citizens, you and I, the general public, can have a say in how to come up with sensible policies which are going to get us out of this mess quickly. And we're calling on the government to recognise a very clear, quick target. 2025, we want to see significant, very significant carbon emissions in 2025. The IPCC is arguing that 2030 might be an appropriate deadline. Other organisations are saying 2050, but really we don't have that much time. So we need to be looking 2025. It is possible, it's very difficult, but it requires urgent action. So that's why I'm here. I'm interested in being part of this movement, observing it and seeing what happens today. I'll get back to you later in the day with an update. Thank you very much.
Mass arrests resulted on Saturday as thousands of people and members of the Extinction Rebellion movement, for the first time in living memory, shut down the 5 main bridges of central London in the name of saving the planet, and those who live upon it.
Here's a summary of the article.
Mass arrests resulted on Saturday as thousands of people and members of the Extinction Rebellion movement, for the first time in living memory, shut down the 5 main bridges of central London in the name of saving the planet, and those who live upon it, from destructive overconsumption, runaway greenhouse gas emissions, and the ongoing failure of global leaders to address the compounding and intensifying threats. The social contract has been broken, and it is therefore not only our right, but our moral duty to bypass the government's inaction and flagrant dereliction of duty, and to rebel to defend life itself, Gail Bradbrook, an Extinction Rebellion organizer, explained to The Guardian. Tiana Jackout, another protest organizer, told the BBC that shutting down the bridges was not a step we take lightly, but if things continue as is, we face an extinction greater than the one that killed the dinosaurs millions of years ago. We are peacefully standing up for the Earth and for humanity, Cecilia B. of Extinction Rebellion, declared in a statement. On the Waterloo Bridge, one speaker told participants, "Let's do what it takes. Good planets are hard to find. We refuse to bequeath a dying planet to future generations by failing to act now. We act in peace, with ferocious love of these lands in our hearts. We act on behalf of life." Extinction Rebellion. In the initial declaration of purpose that informs the group's ongoing actions, Extinction Rebellion states its belief that the current moment is humanity's darkest hour, but that hope and time remains to change course if people decide to act urgently in accordance with the scale of the threats.
Called Stop the Maangamizi. We charge genocide ecocide, and Maangamizi is a key Swahili term for African Holocaust.
One of the issues I think with climate change is people see it as just a planetary issue or an environmental issue, but as you're pointing out, it's a human issue, right?
It's a human issue. I mean, for us, there's a direct correlation between what happens to the land, what happens to the planet, the environment, and what happens to the people that live on the earth.
Right.
We must change the world, and we must prevent the criminal class, the criminal capitalist class, you know, that's even in African and Caribbean governments. It's not just about European governments, it's also how we are maintaining that in terms of our ruling elites. And we have to look at where the alternatives are coming from the below, from the grassroots who are rising up. So yes, rise up in rebellion.
Rise up in rebellion, beautifully said. Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank you, Esther.
Hello everybody, guess what you're doing? You're watching the political vigilante making Gotham great again. Well, we were talking about this on the Super Chat on Sunday, this Extinction Rebellion that was protesting in London. Guess what they did? They blocked all of the London bridges. This is reported by the BBC.com. It's not a very extensive article, it just sort of tells you what happened. But here's what they did. Protesters blocked off 5 major bridges in central London as part of the so-called Rebellion Day. Organizers said thousands gathered in central London to demand the government take greater action on climate change. Demonstrators occupied Southwark, Blackfriars, Waterloo, Westminster, Lambeth bridges for most of the day after a week of action by campaign group Extinction Rebellion. Now, just to be clear, England has taken steps to try to be by 2030, but this group doesn't feel like it's enough because they're still, the UK is still supporting fracking, and, you know, they're doing deals with the Saudis and all this other stuff. So this is a big deal. And what the Extinction Rebellion group says is pretty profound, because they're like, we don't have the time anymore to, you know, protest and write signs and sign petitions. We're just going to shut stuff down. This is what Hedges talks about. They did it on a Saturday. And, you know, there's some articles of people saying, hey, you know, the ambulances and first responders are having a hard time getting around, which, you know, that's a legitimate thing. That's a, I have mixed feelings on that, quite honestly. But shutting stuff down is what's going to have to wake people up. Because if you think about it, we are facing an extinction. We can't mince words and, well, concede and centrist, blah, blah, blah. It's not going to do it. It's like I give so much credit to Ocasio-Cortez for sitting in with those protesters outside of Pelosi's office, pushing a Green New Deal. We need a Green New Deal. So this is what they did. Tiana Jacout of Extinction Rebellion said the blockages were not a step we take lightly, but if things continue as is, we face an extinction greater than the one that killed the dinosaurs. We have tried marching and lobbying and signing petitions. Nothing has brought about the change that is needed. According to the group, 6,000 people joined the protests and more than 85 were arrested. Here's from their Twitter feed, @ExtinctionR. We are planting trees in the middle of Parliament Square. It's time to work with and like and not against nature. I mean, it's the stuff that Hedges talks about. You know, it's the stuff that Hedges talks about. Non-violent protest, but we need to shut stuff down. It's a big deal. You know, you know, if I was in an ambulance in London and they couldn't get to the hospital because these bridges were shut down, I'd be bummed out. I would be bummed out. I'm not going to lie. But I don't know what more, you know, like they say, how many petitions can we sign, and let's try to do this and give money to this environmental group and all that other stuff. Like they got to wake up. You know, we're running out of time. It's that simple. We are running out of time. So, you know, I hope more people pay attention. And I hope Extinction Rebellion, you know, they're going to be doing more of these, I'm sure. We need to mobilize in here in America because we don't have time for the Nancy Pelosi's to do their incremental centrism while they get money from the healthcare industry and everybody else. We don't have time to, like, well, let's put together a committee and then we'll do an environmental impact. No, fracking's bad, done, get rid of it, get off of oil. Get off of it. You know, oil is murdering us. It's that simple. So, I appreciate some of you bringing it up at the Super Chat, and I'm glad that was sent this article because I'm going to keep covering it and talking about it. But this is what it's going to take. Non-violent protest, you guys. They want you to react with violence. They want you because then they know how to handle you. That's the thing. They don't know how to handle peace and love. They don't. Those in power. The people who are like, we got to anarchy, we got to go do it. I'm sorry, I don't. You're going to lose in a really brutal way. So, peacefully shutting stuff down. People peacefully getting arrested. You got to be willing to get arrested. So, I support these folks for doing this, and we all got to do everything that we possibly can, a million different ways, to preserve this planet, because by 2030, if we haven't taken drastic measures starting today, by 2030 it's too late.
The climate is in desperate need of our help.
The plan for today is essentially to take a series of bridges in London, have a peaceful sit-in protest to draw attention to the fact that we're on our way to extinction. It's about you, it's about me, it's about the world. We are going to die. Every day, 60 species are going extinct. You can Google that, it's a fact. We are on the way to our own extinction, and if we don't do anything now, there will be no tomorrow for us for our children, and it's up to us to have some responsibility with our planet, with our people, with our brethren, to make a difference now, because now is the time. Tomorrow it's too late.
Woo! Let's go!
For the first time, people are willing to go to jail and to actually sacrifice themselves for this cause, for our planet. We need to have drastic action. We need to take measures that people actually show real commitment to making real sacrifices to meet the needs of a planet that is fast going towards extinction. The Extinction Rebellion movement here in the UK has three basic demands. One is that the truth must be told, because at the moment people are not aware of what is really happening. We are not aware of how dangerous and how critical the situation is at the moment. Secondly, there is demand that all carbon emissions are cut by 2025, all carbon emissions in the UK. And thirdly, that to democratize the process, a council of citizens is set up to guide and to monitor the process of our efforts to stop climate change. This is not a UK movement, this is a global movement, because it's not about French, it's not about the British, it's not about the Spanish, it's about humanity. It's about someone in Nairobi, it's about someone in Sydney, it's about someone in Bogota, Colombia. It's about all of us joining hands and making a difference, because if not, there will be no tomorrow to speak of.
Frustrated with the apparent lack of any government action on combating climate change? Do you get frustrated when they pay lip service to reducing carbon emissions, but then appear to do nothing or actually the opposite? Well, if so, you're amongst good company. My name's Peter Batt, and I dropped in on the first major action by Extinction Rebellion, a civil disobedience organisation which intends to put a great deal of pressure on the conventional political system. In this video, you see me in Parliament Square talking to writer and environmental campaigner George Monbiot about why such action is needed. This is the first of two videos. The second video is a much more general sweep of the entire protest on the 17th of November.
Given how extreme the position is, we can't just be moderate anymore.
No, that's right, that's right. Well, the time for moderation. Do you want me to look at you, or do you want me to look at the camera?
You might as well look at me.
Yeah, that's right.
Hello, I'm Peter.
Hi, Peter. Hi. Well, the time for moderation on these issues is well and truly over.
Yes.
We've been banging on for years and years about climate breakdown, about ecological breakdown in general, and the action which should have been taken has not been taken, and as a result, the window of opportunity is closing.
Yes.
The level of action we have to take has been ramping up because the opportunities to have done more moderate things earlier on, those have all gone.
Yes.
We have to have a massive shift in economic life, in political life, if we're going to have any chance of getting out of the death spiral that we're currently in.
Yeah.
And that, in order to trigger that shift, we need to have this sort of action, this sort of solidarity, people prepared in large numbers to get arrested, people prepared to show that we are taking this seriously.
Yes.
If all you do is sit behind your laptop and send out tweets all day about how everything's collapsing, people don't take it seriously.
Yeah.
Because they think, well, you're not taking it seriously because where are you?
And so this is just the beginning. Yeah. Otherwise we're doomed.
Yeah. And it has to ramp up, but it's very hopeful.
Yes.
Because I've been in this business 33 years, I've never seen people coming out like this for an issue like this.
Yeah.
So this, I think, is the beginning of a new place.
In order to get change, we have to challenge vested interests. It's the interests that don't want to change, isn't it?
It's, let's be more specific about it. It's the oligarchy which doesn't want to change. It's a small number of extremely powerful and wealthy people who want things to stay as they are because their short-term interests are radically different to the long-term interests of society.
Exactly, yeah.
And so they welcome all the dysfunction of inequality, of social injustice, and while they don't welcome environmental breakdown, they don't care about environmental breakdown. It's all about grabbing as many resources for themselves now as they possibly can.
Yes.
So in all of these issues, inequality, social injustice, environmental breakdown, we've got a common set of opponents and we have to stop them dominating us.
Yes.
And this is fundamentally a campaign for democracy.
We are the Dundee reps for Extinction Rebellion Dundee. We've been setting up the page, setting up the group, trying to engage people, trying to inform people. There's a couple more of us involved in this, and yeah, we are it at the moment, but we just wanted to create the information video to let you know about the basic things to do with who Extinction Rebellion are, what we do, and why we do it.
So the latest IPCC climate change report stated that we have 12 years to limit global warming before it's above an increase of 1.5 degrees, and that's when really like climate catastrophes are going to kick off, basically be unstoppable. We're already in the 6th mass extinction, species are going extinct every single day, humans around the globe are already affected. We in the UK have already noticed a lot of changes, and so far the UK government and other governments as well have failed to actually recognize these scientific proofs of climate change crisis that we are already in. So we're this movement that from the people want to show and call upon our governments to recognize the scientific evidence that we need to act right now to prevent the climate crisis to get even worse. And yes, that's basically why we're here and what we're doing. We have 10 values and beliefs that Extinction Rebellion shares, and we're just going to read them out. So yeah. Number 1 is we share a vision of change to create a world that is fit for the next 7 generations to live in. Number 2, we set our mission on what is necessary to mobilize 3.5% of the UK population to achieve system change. Number 3, we need a regenerative culture. We want to create a culture which is healthy, resilient and adaptable, and that applies to everyone. Number 4, we're openly challenging ourselves and the political and economic system, leaving our comfort zones to take action for change. Number 5, we value reflecting and learning. We follow a cycle of action, reflection, learning and planning for more action. We learn from other movements and contexts as well as our own experiences. This is a learning process. It's just about us, getting out there and taking this to the streets and raise our opinions and scientific evidence.
So number 6, we welcome everyone and every part of everyone. This is a very inclusive movement and we're working actively to create safer spaces and more accessible spaces. We actively mitigate for power, number 7, breaking down hierarchies of power for more equitable participation. Number 8, we avoid blaming and shaming. We live in a toxic system, but no one individual is to blame. We don't want to fight people. We don't want to be shouting at people on the street. We want to include people. Everyone is affected by this. We are a non-violent network. We use non-violent strategy and tactics as the most effective way to bring about change. Number 10, we are based on autonomy and decentralization. We collectively create the structures we need to challenge power. So those are the values and principles that we worked towards. Those are just part of Extinction Rebellion, and then we have 3 demands, that are specifically addressing the UK government?
So number one is that the government must tell the truth about the ecological emergency, reverse inconsistent policies and work alongside the media to communicate this to the citizen. Everyone has the right to know what's going on. The government must enact legally binding measurements to reduce carbon emissions to zero by 2025 and to limit the global ecological footprint to half on this planet. 3. To create the creation of a citizens' assembly to oversee changes as part of creating a democracy fit for purpose. The citizens' assembly itself will then decide the details of the measurements needed. This is basically to work alongside with the government. People's opinions should be reflected in our democracy government, and we are trying to work with the UK government, well, with the Scottish government, to draft an emergency or declaration when they pass the Act on climate change in January. So our long-term strategy is to work with them on that. But right now, for Saturday, there is going to be a rebellion day in coalition with the London one. We're just trying to raise awareness, to get the public engaged, to get us ourselves like empowered and just raising our voices to just draw attention right now and then have our long-term strategy for January.
Yeah, so Saturday will be a demonstration and just anything you can do to show support, to just be there, that is just really helpful. We just want to show that Scotland and people in Scotland care and to show how many people do, and we will be trained in non-violent direct action on Wednesday in Edinburgh. There's also one in Glasgow on Thursday, and we will be holding like a kind of a debrief about this in person, and arts and crafts kind of just to make banners and things for Saturday on Thursday.